Mark had been acting like a different person for months. She'd tried to talk to him to no avail, so she'd brushed off her instinctual feeling that there was something serious going on he didn't want her to know about. Nothing made sense. She clenched her jaw, fighting back a new wave of pain, but anger and bitterness had finally started to win the battle raging inside of her. One way or another, she would get to the bottom of what had happened. She could be tough, a no-nonsense kind of woman, but she'd had to be in her line of work. No matter how smart she was, or how many degrees or connections she had, she was still a woman fighting to make it to the top in a man's world. Deep down inside of her beat the heart of a sensitive woman with real feelings. Why did women have to start hiding their feelings to be taken seriously? She thought Mark had seen the real woman inside of her, and not just the firecracker reporter who got the job done at any cost. He'd hurt her more than she would ever admit to her well-meaning, stifling family. She came from money, and so did he, but she was beginning to wonder if that was all they'd had in common. How the hell had she let this happen? Emma started walking again as she reflected on the mess her life had become. She had always been too focused on work to worry about finding someone to share her life with, but at nearly 30, she wasn't getting any younger. Her mother feared she would wait beyond childbearing years and leave her without grandchildren, heaven forbid, even though she already had some from Emma's sister. Frankly, Emma wasn't even certain she wanted children of her own. But when her parents had introduced her to Mark, he'd seemed perfect for her. It was a win-win for both of them. He'd even said so himself. When had that suddenly changed? Emma spent the past 6 months trying to figure that out, and her work had suffered because of it. She read self-help books and had even spoken to a therapist, but nothing had helped. Needing to get away and hoping for inspiration, she'd taken a leave of absence, packed her bags, and headed to coastal Maine for the summer. Her favorite local Boston poet, Katie Ford, wrote the most moving poetry set in Maine, so Emma figured that was as good a place as any to escape. Neither her family nor her fiancé's would be caught dead in such a small town like Beacon Bay because it wasn't one of the it places to summer, as if summer were a verb. Emma couldn't face them right now, couldn't face anyone, because no matter what Mark had done, it was somehow her fault. No one came right out and said so, but she could see it in their eyes. When had he become the victim and not her? She wasn't angry at him. She was angry at them all. Being alone was her only option. Kicking a pebble with the toe of her hiking boot, Emma kept moving forward one step at a time, hoping she would be able to do the same thing to her life. Emma was the go-to girl. People came to her for answers to their unsolved mysteries, but this particular mystery was too much even for her. So she had stopped trying to figure it out and decided to move on with her life, though she knew a part of her never would give up until she had closure. She was searching for anything that might fuel her with inspiration, because if she didn't start to write again, she might not have a job to go back to in the fall. And then she would have nothing, and end up lost and alone, which had secretly been her biggest fear of all. Not to mention, if she kept dwelling on all the possible answers to her problems, she might start to believe she wasn't good enough, which was something she'd struggled with her entire life. She lived in a world where the people had impossible standards no mere mortal could live up to. And frankly, she was tired of not being good enough for her family, not being good enough for the job, not being good enough for a man.